Welcome to Book Date with You. Today is episode 11818, and we are going to introduce this book to you. Don't Believe Everything You Think by Joseph Goodwin. Joseph Goodwin is the author of the number one international best-selling of this book, Don't Believe Everything You Think, which has been translated into 31 languages. He is a writer who helps others to realize who they truly are beyond their own thinking and conditioning to live in an abundant life, free from physical, psychological, and emotional suffering. So let's hear from Joyce what this book is about.
Yes, this book, I really what urged me to buy this book is because the title by itself. Because I was a girl that really thinking so much. I just keep thinking, which I found that this is not the right way. So until a point, I know that I need to make some change. So this is the book that really highlight a lot of great points that I think that's why I want to share with you. Even this is the part one. I would love this is not a thick book, This is such a teen book. And I would love to separate into part one and part two. It's such a because so great information inside. Because the only constant is change. You all know that. Growth is inevitable in a process of life. So it will be very impossible for you not to change when after you read this book. Because this book is such a great way to open your mind, to have the awareness. After you have the awareness, there are a lot of things that can change. Because I remember last time Sarah Sandberg, the founder of Lean In, she mentioned this before that we cannot change what we are not aware of. And once we are aware, we cannot help but change. This is such a profound sentence, I think. Just awareness is the foundation of the change. So this book, we talk about this when he comes to the introduction, he mentioned about we need to have an open mind and willing heart are all we need to receive every answer that we have been looking for. Very important because the secret lies within the feeling. The secret lies within the feeling. So if you want to find the truth, look beyond the words and look for the feeling is the number one thing that he mentioned. So to find everything you are looking for life, for in your life, you must look inside yourself. All right. This is not the external thing. You have to look inside ourselves and discover the wisdom that already exists within you. All the answer lies deep within your soul. That is in our soul. This is such an important thing because last time I may not even realize that how important to listen and to really feel how I feel. So until someone told me about that, right? Actually, before I read this book, I kind of learned about that starting, and after I read this book, even enhance how I can feel. So from the feeling will come the wisdom and truth that you are looking for, which will set you free. If you're looking for anything, the truth in your life or any wisdom that you want to help in your life, so that is very key is your feeling because pain is unavoidable. All right. But how we react to the events and circumstances that happen in our lives is that it's up to us and we will dictate whether we suffer or not. The subtitle you see from here is why your thinking is a beginning and end of suffering. It is such a key. Not just about don't believe everything you think. It is also about this last sentence. Subtitle for this one, why your thinking is a beginning and end of suffering. So we live in a world of thought, not reality. So this is a sentence here, right? Thought is not a reality, yet it is true our own reality are created. The meaning or the thinking that we give to an event is what determines how we ultimately feel about it. The meaning of thinking is the filter through which we see life from then on. Because of this, we live through the perception of the reality. not the reality itself. Do you get that? It's not the reality itself, it's a perception we give to the reality. So reality is an event that happened. That's called reality. With no meaning, no thinking, or no interpretation of it. So any meaning or thinking that we give to that event, it's how our perception of the event is created. It's how our experience of life is created from the inside out. So our feelings do not come from the external event. That's important to know because it comes from our own thinking about that event. Do you get that? Does it make sense? Right? So, scenario, I want to give you a scenario. Let's say you hate your job so much because your job gives you the stress, your anxiety, the frustration. You just feel like you hate your job. So now I want to ask you this question. Actually, it's from this book I quote. Who would you be without the thought that you hated your job? Think about this. Who would you be without that thought that you hated your job? If you don't overthink it and truly let the answer just flow and surface within you without that thought, you will most likely feel what? You'll most likely actually feel you are happy, you are peaceful, you feel free, you feel light without the thought of you hate the job. And the root cause of our suffering is actually our own thinking. It's so true because when I experience myself, when I have anything, I feel so suffer, I feel so frustrated. It's because my own thinking that caused me to have that kind of feeling, the negative emotions that I experienced during that time. So now, I want to highlight this important one. It's our perception of reality is very, very real. We will feel what we think, and our feelings are really real. So we are ever only one thought away. Oh, this is the key. Please remember that. We are only one thought away from the experiencing something different and transforming our entire lives at any moment. That is through a state of no thought. Grab this sentence. If you're under the state of no thought, you literally will not suffer. We are humans have evolved to develop this sophisticated reality, ability to rationalize, analyze, and think because it simply helps us to survive. Look at that. We are trained and conditioned by the society in the school that using our brain to think, to analyze. Our mind do a very incredible job to keep us survive, but it's not help us to thrive. So if you want to thrive, you better learn how to get back to your feeling. And then I just want to highlight this important key. It's the same if we keep using our minds, we will constantly stay in this negative emotion because this our mind will keep us feeling anxiety, fear, frustration, anger, depression, resentment, and all the different negative emotions because the mind thinks everything is like a threat. It's just thinking like everything is a threat because it comes in the way of it want to keep us survive. So this is the key. So if you want to be free, you want to happy, you want to peaceful, you want to feel of love, all the love that you want, then you will need to let go of listening to your mind and go beyond it and tuning into something much greater that will help you to not just survive but thrive. So that is the key. So before we jump into the how, let's differentiate a little bit the thought and also the thinking. What is the difference between thoughts and thinking? Thoughts are the energetic mental raw materials from which we use to create everything in the world. So on the other hand, thinking is the act of thinking about our thoughts. So this takes a very significant amount of energy, effort, and willpower. So that's the reason why you feel tired when you think too much. Am I right? Because you feel like your body is literally, you use glucose scientific way to explain that. I'm a science girl. I love science way to explain things. So when you think, you literally use your brain glucose to help you to think. So that's why you feel you are using up your energy. So thinking is the root cause of all the psychological suffering. So let me give you an example. So, or Gideon, I ask you this question. Like, okay, I ask you, how much you wanted to make? How much?
In a year?
Yeah, maybe in a year, like how much you want to make in a year?
Mm, say 1 million.
Okay, great. But I mean, how do you feel when you say, yes, I want to make 1 million?
Um, I mean, to me, just a number. I mean, I'm a number person, so a million, just a million, right? Yeah. But of course, you feel excited or satisfied when you meet that and you see that number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. That is exactly how we feel because we feel excited, we feel even expensive of that. So if I were to ask you, oh, okay, now you know you want to go for 1 million, all right? So in a year, so what you're going to do to get a 1 million?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
start, you start to think, right?
Yeah.
You start
Yeah.
to
You
think.
start to list down all the action.
Okay, when you start to think, you start to feel like, oh dear, that is a little bit anxious. It comes from your feeling. Then you say, okay, can I make it or not? You have this self-doubt. Even some of us may have a lot of this self-doubt. So can I really make it? Or am I worthy for that? So this is all the emotions that will come out when we start thinking. So there is a difference between thought and thinking. So thought is always the one create, and thinking is the one destroys. So we want to have thoughts, but we don't want to have that thinking process so much. So thoughts are inherently infinite, expansive, and energetically positive. You will know that you are having the thoughts from the divine when you feel positive emotion. Literally, you feel the joy, you feel the lighter, you feel alive. So the more accurate way of describing is that we can only ever feel negative emotions when we are thinking. You use a little bit time. Yes, me myself, I also take some time to digest that sentence. If you can only feel the negative emotions when you are thinking. So if you agree with that, then you'll start to understand that all the root cause of the suffering actually is come from the thinking. So recall a time, maybe this is from definitely Joseph. He asks, recall a time when you felt the most joy and love that you ever felt in your life and feel the feelings that you felt at that time as much as you can for at least 30 seconds. And then what kind of thoughts were going through your mind at that peak moment when you felt the most joy and love? So if actually a lot of people may answer this, they realize that during that time they have no thoughts. When they feel the joy, when they feel the love, they have no thoughts at all. So some people may say that they actually feel grateful or happy. So this is something that they found out that even those people that they say they feel grateful and happy, they feel grateful or happy, right? Actually, is they didn't have a thought. They felt the grateful way before they actually having that thoughts. So this is something like you may feel like a little bit movie here, but I want you to feel next time when you literally feel joy and love. Do you have any thoughts or thinking in your mind? Literally, no. So you go and experience it and you come back and let me know in your comment section. I think this is something I personally, after I read that, I say I want to experience that. When I experience that, how I become very noticeable or like very conscious, knowing that, okay, I want to experience this. So I see that, can I actually have thoughts or no? So even I think about when I have thoughts, that time I already know that I already have thought because I want to be very conscious about that still. So this is the sentence from the book is so important. It's about it is not what we're thinking about that is causing us suffering, but that we are thinking. The less thinking we have, the more space that we create for positive emotions to naturally surface. Important. So how to stop thinking? Now you ask me out. Okay, after we know that, okay, don't want to think that much, is good. Now, how to stop thinking? Joseph from the book, he said, it is not possible to just entirely stop thinking. But what we can do is to reduce the time we spend thinking so that it gets smaller and smaller each day that passes. So by us becoming aware that we are thinking that that is the root cause of all our suffering, it automatically makes us conscious to the fact that we become detached to it. Okay? And then allow it to settle and pass. So it takes this one is our present at the moment. That is the key of that. So I wanted to give you this analogy. And Gideon, I want to ask you, imagine that I give you a bowl of dirty, murky, cloudy water. All right? And then if I want to ask you, how would you make the water to clear? Okay? How would you make the water clear? How would you do that?
Usually, I will try with some filter tools. Try to filter it, see whether there's mud or sand that can caught on the filter, and yeah, and try a few times until it become clear.
Yes, we are thinking about filtration system, right? So look at that. We have our water filtration system. It's the way that how to let it filter all the dust, the mud, the bacteria, the viruses that comes into our pipe through the piping. So most people would say that will say about yes, filter, or even some people may say void, right? So that is the thing that most people don't realize that actually we let the bowl of dirty water to let it sit for a period of time. Let it just sit there. So maybe after a few days, 1, 2 days, you will settle down. You will see the mud will be at the bottom, and literally the top part will be very clear. That's the clear water. So that is the analogy I want to bring to see that it's actually similar with our mind. It's how our minds work as well. So if we let our thinking to sit down there, this without disturbing it. So by trying to filter or boil it, means that you are not boiling or overthinking that, the thinking will settle down. All right. And to on its own, and our minds will become free from thinking. Do you get me? So it's like the whole thing will try to settle down. It takes some time, definitely through practice. And if your life feels so unclear, disorganized, or you feel so stressful, you are not sure what to do next, you know that it's only because your thinking is actually stirring up. Your thinking is actually really disturbing you. So making your mind feel so cloudy because you are unsure what to do. So you can see this as an indicator to help you to realize that you are thinking too much. So now you allow it to settle by giving it space. You need more space. This is something I really actively created. I really intentionally, consciously created the space, not just in my mind, my heart, and also my physical space. This is something I really, really do in my daily lives right now. And slowly we will start to see how we begin to have this clear mind again. The key, clear mind. So we cannot control or prevent the oscillation between the thinking and the non-thinking. We cannot just control it, but we can actually minimize down the time spent in the thinking so that we can create the more moments so that we can feel the joy or the happiness or the peaceful that you want to feel. So that's what I will share with you in the part one. Part two, I will go into how we actually can possibly thrive without thinking. You may ask me, Joyce, are you sure? Not thinking? So I will share from the book in the part two how to thrive in this world even we are not thinking and how to follow our intuition. So stay tuned with our part two and let me know your aha moment after listening to this part one. See you in the next episode.